What's up, guys? So the brand new Toyota Supra has just dropped and the internet is literally on fire. Like if it was a physical thing, it would be Rome right now. Chicago maybe. So why are people so riled up about this thing? So I know what you've all been thinking. When will BoostRodeo tell us what we should think about the brand new Supra? In reality, you're thinking, what is a BoostRodeo? What the hell's a BoostRodeo? Is that like where they put turbos on cows or something weird? No, but we do wear a lot of flannel around here, and if we're lucky, we might be putting a turbo on a horse eventually. So today, I'm going to go over 5 reasons why I think the new Toyota Supra will actually be a success. After that, I'm going to talk about why I personally just am not that excited for it. So let's just go ahead and get into it and start talking about the Supra. That's not actually how German people sound. The first reason that the new Toyota Supra is going to be an enormous hit is the name. The Toyota Supra has rose to this iconic tuner status symbol over the last decade. If you've ever owned or driven a Mark IV, you know exactly what I am talking about. You can't go anywhere without getting stares. You can't stop at any gas station or grocery store without having someone talk to you. The conversation usually goes like this. Sick Supra, bro. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. What kind of power are you making? 550 on pump. You know that with like a few $100s, these things make 1,000 horsepower, right? That is 100% accurate. It is completely that easy. Anyone who is into import cars, or really cars in the world, knows what the Toyota 2JZ is and knows what the Supra is. But there is an entire generation that grew up idolizing this car. Production numbers were just not that high, so there's not many of them out there, and in recent years it's gotten extremely difficult and expensive to find a Mark IV Supra. So that means there's an enormous market that just wants to buy it for the name because they've always wanted a Supra, and now you have a brand new car that you can easily go to the dealership and find, get a loan on, drive it to work every day, and finally fulfill that fanboy dream. The second reason that the Toyota Supra is going to do quite well is going to be the driving experience. BMW knows how to make cars that drive well. The E46 is regarded as one of the best driver's cars ever produced. The 3 Series in general is an iconic track car. And also, look at Porsche, look at Mercedes. They produce some of the best driver's cars in history. So this is going to translate well, especially to a generation that has never driven any Toyota Supra. It's going to be tight, it's going to be sporty, and they're going to be happy with it. Another thing that's going to attribute to the handling of this car is that they achieved a perfect 50-50 balance, something that Toyota has never really hit. The Mark III wasn't even close, and the Mark IV came in at roughly a 52-48 bias. The third reason that the Toyota Supra is going to be a success. This car will still have some tunability. All the recent BMWs have made respectable power. They're extremely torquey. They have great low and mid-range response, which translates extremely well to the street. There is a sizable aftermarket for BMW parts already, and that will continue with this car and only grow. The fourth reason, this is actually the cheapest Supra to come out in generations. The Mark III Supra was the transition from a sporty economy import to a touring sports car. So I actually have the original window sticker from Toyota for my 1989 Toyota Supra. That car originally retailed in 1989 for $34,000. Now if you add in inflation to that, that was a very expensive car back then. That's the equivalent of $68,000 today. Now a Mark IV Toyota Supra turbo 6-speed in 1995 could easily crack above $50,000. Now $50,000 in 1995 was the equivalent of $80,000 today. Now with this new one, Toyota has managed to set the price point at $50,000 for the 3-liter. The other versions falling in at $54,000 to $56,000. The fact that this Supra is actually relatively the cheapest generation to come out since the Mark II. That opens this car up to a much larger demographic than previous generations when it's brand new off the lot. The fifth and final reason that I think it will be a success is because the Toyota Supra has continually evolved throughout its lifetime. If you look at the Mark I, it really was a sporty economy hatchback. The power was modest, the options were few and far between, and overall the car's styling was not that aggressive or outrageous at the time. Essentially, a Toyota Celica with a sport package added on. Now when the Mark II came out, the styling got more aggressive. They made a few more changes that separated it from the Celica line, but it still was essentially a Celica with a sport package, a larger engine, and some other performance options. Now comes the Mark III. Now this is the first time that the Supra split ways with the Celica and became its own designated line and body style. And that was a revolutionary car at the time. I mean, it had electronic suspension. It had a targa top that removed. In European markets, it had adjustable self-leveling headlights. It had full lumbar support and leather. The power output of 230 horsepower through a turbocharged inline-six engine was no slouch at the time. And then came the Mark IV. Now the Mark IV set some world records for production car braking at the time. Not only was it known for the respectable power output at 320 horsepower, but the car handled exceptionally well in the corners or on a racetrack. The biggest downfall to the Mark IV that hit sales was the pricing. It was very, very expensive for a Toyota, which is not something they were known for at the time. Now this new Supra is another major evolution in the Supra line, which is understandable because the car is coming out almost 30 years after the Mark IV debuted. So now we've gone through all 5 reasons why I think the new Toyota will be a success. But with all that said, I just cannot get excited about this car. The first reason that I just can't get behind the car is the styling. The FT1 was a gorgeous concept. The one caveat is I could never get behind that nose. I just can't get down on that. Like, who the hell drew this thing? All other angles of the FT1 really were gorgeous and stunning. However, the new concept to me is just not that. Cars always change between the concept and the production model. That's a given. But the proportions drastically changed here. Let me just get technical and whiteboard it out for you. So this to this is too tall. This to this is too short. And this, I mean, seriously, what is that? Is it an elephant seal? I mean, the second thing that just makes me not excited about this car is the driving experience. Now, I know I mentioned that in one of the reasons that I said it would be successful. However, I'll explain a little. The Germans know how to engineer a driver's car, but German cars drive very different from Japanese cars. The Japanese go about engineering a vehicle completely different than the Germans. They have different philosophies, they have different goals. If you have ever driven any generation of the Supra, they're all fantastic in their own way. They all have slight differences, but there is something about them that makes them inherently Toyota. That's not to say that the new Supra won't drive well, but it will not drive like a Toyota. One other aspect of the driving experience is the cockpit feel. The last 2 generations of Toyota Supra before this had extremely driver-centric cockpits. The Mark III's interior was very cutting edge at the time. It all spoke to surrounding the driver with the vehicle. Now, if you've ever sat in or been lucky enough to drive a Mark IV Supra, you know that it has one of the most driver-centric interior setups of any production car that's ever built. Kind of just hugs you like a fighter jet, kind of like you're driving a space shuttle. Now, from the photos I've seen of the new Supra's interior, it is extremely BMW. It's got one of the flattest dashes I've ever seen. Nothing points towards the driver. And no manual option. I know it's slower, but I don't care. I want to feel fast rowing my own gears while getting beat by an automatic. I personally prefer to be forced to take my hand off the steering wheel when I'm driving at excessive speed. Plus, fart sounds. The third reason is the reliability and what it's going to take to mod this car. BMWs are known for having extensive maintenance. Everyone that I've known that has owned a recent one has had issues. Turbos replaced, injectors go out, cooling issues, water pump. The majority of the engine bay is plastic. One of the things that made the 2JZ so revolutionary was the fact that it was such an incredibly reliable engine while reaching ridiculous horsepower numbers. The thing about BMWs is their ECUs are extremely difficult to crack, and I think it will be some time before they have this effectively sorted out. It's also very difficult to install a standalone in the vehicle because of all the other onboard electronics and getting them to interface properly. German designs are usually extremely complicated, which translates to expensive aftermarket parts. And the last reason just doesn't feel like a Toyota. It feels like they lost their heart and soul, like they sold out to make this car cheaper. And one other thing, Toyota, gazoo. How the fuck does a gazoo sound intimidating? Bring back TRD. If you want to see my Mark III Supra, you can see a little overview right here. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and smash that like button. Go ahead and comment below because I want to know what you guys think. So that's it for this one. Watch out for a test drive video and an update as soon as we get the chance to get behind the wheel of this thing. And I sincerely hope that I am sounding like an idiot and telling you that I now love the car. I really do, but we'll wait and see.